I went in for a routine checkup at 24 weeks. We had our 20-week ultrasound, and he looked great. There was no problems. So I thought the 24-week, it was going to be a breeze. It was actually I joked it was the first appointment I wasn't worried about. So I go in for that appointment. My blood pressure is high. He's measuring pretty small. So they did an ultrasound, and he wasn't getting enough blood flow. So they're like, don't go home, go straight to the hospital. So I left the appointment, and I ended up being in the high-risk pregnancy unit at Erlanger. And I stayed there for 2 weeks. So it was really just touch and go throughout my entire stay. They didn't know. They always said that the situation would present itself one way or the other. Either Olin would tell us he was time for him to come out, or I would. And after 2 weeks, I ended up developing HELLP syndrome, which is what preeclampsia can develop into. So at that point, my blood pressures were spiking again. My organs were starting to fail. So they were, at that point, they're like, it's not safe for you, so we have to deliver him.
It was really hard to believe that we were parents, and Olin started off as 1.1 pounds, and I was able to go back into the NICU and actually see him before Anna was able to. And it was just like a pretty unreal experience being able to going in there, and I had to wait a little bit because they were still making sure everything was stable before I was able to see him. But I saw him in the isolette, and he was this little tiny baby the size of your hand, with like no fat on him at all, and just hard to believe that was like an actual baby. Looking at him,
he's 11 inches.
11 inches. Just couldn't believe that, how big he could get, seeing him that small.
When you get pregnant, you just assume it's going to be a healthy pregnancy and you're going to deliver a full-time baby. So most mothers, luckily, don't know anything about the NICU, and we were just kind of thrown into this world. And I'm the type of person who does a lot of research. So, of course, when I was in the hospital, I was just researching everything I could on the NICU and learned that it was a level 4 NICU, and we had all these great specialists, and so that put my mind at ease right away. I think we're very fortunate that we are here in Chattanooga. He could have been born a number of other places where they probably wouldn't have been able to intubate him and save his life because he was just so small. And the fact that they were able to intubate him and he didn't develop any brain bleeds, which is a miracle in and of itself, that just speaks to the high training and care that the nurses here have. We love them dearly. So now we're not visiting the NICU every day, but we are still here pretty frequently. He's got a lot of doctors he sees. So he sees pulmonologist, gastroenterologist, dietitian, endocrinologist, occupational therapist, feeding therapist, and physical therapist. All the doctors are at the outpatient center, and then usually the physical therapists are in the other building. Oh, Olin's a fireball. They always said in the NICU that he was feisty. He was always moving, his arms and legs, and thrashing around, and even in his isolette when he was under 2 pounds. And so I think that's carried over to today. I think his feistiness is what has gotten him to where he is today. He's a stubborn little boy, and I think that saved his life. So he's always moving. There's not a moment where he's at rest. He loves kicking his legs. He loves looking at the world around him. He's a social little boy. He's a very opinionated little boy.